All right, welcome to episode 95 of the At-Bat Podcast presented by War Media, where we give you our thoughts on the latest Chicago baseball news, as well as take a trip around the league. I am Saul Rodriguez, joined as always by my co-host, Miles Porter. As always, joined as well by Gabe Wilkins, who you can see on his own podcast, The State of Gabe, available exclusively on Spotify. And we are joined by a recurring guest. The second time he's on it, but I mean, we always try to get Mike on the show. He is the one and only Shy Kid Mike. You can follow him at Shy Kid Mike on TikTok. He just has a light 60K followers. It's whatever. It's nothing crazy or anything like that. Just some light.
Yeah.
Right, Mike? Just something light.
Something like that. Something like that. I don't even know.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm okay, bro. I'm okay. I was just at the Cubs game the other day. Got the dub. You know how we feeling. You know how we're doing it.
Yes, sir.
Saw a Hayden Wesneski masterclass. So that was pretty cool. A rare masterclass. So I've been, hiding in Skytown because I'm afraid of the Chicago Cubs because they continue to try to hurt me. But no one gets hurt more than Gabe over here when we talking about baseball. So it's a safe space. It's a safe. I'm in a safe space right now. It's okay, Gabe. We don't have to fight, brother. We don't have to fight.
Oh no, we ain't gotta fight, but
it's a safe space. We're together. We're hand in hand.
Hey, I know Gabe and her right now though, because he recently had a birthday. So we said happy birthday on the day of, but belated birthday on here. So I hope you enjoyed that, Gabe. And how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I can't complain. It's a blessing to see 31 years of life. Got a chance to catch the White Sox doubleheader in between. That's my first doubleheader that I ever went to. So that's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it was we'll get into the White Sox, but I mean, despite the win-loss record, I mean, the White Sox have been entertaining, like by no means, with that starting rotation, it's been fun to watch. So,
for sure.
Well, I'm excited to talk about that. Miles, how you doing, man? I know you had some baseball news. Can you share it yet? Is there something you can share yet? I forgot if you want to leak it yet or
Can't
not yet.
Share nothing yet.
Oh yeah. All right.
Can't say nothing yet.
I'll share it. Miles signed a 10-day with the White Sox. No.
Hey, we can use some third base depth.
Hey, for real, yeah.
We need some offense too.
Moncada wasn't cutting it. They said they wanted some Porter.
We'll give you a minor league deal, man. Have you come up in 2 weeks?
Put me over there, man. And I'll
2 weeks.
Come on, ready to go. So I like doing this show. I'm happy that we've taken some time in between. Now, I can't exactly say how I really want to, like how I really feel. I can't really say what I really want to say because I'm at my job. But usually if I don't say it, I know Mike is usually gonna say it. But man, I got some feelings right now, some emotions, good and bad, about what's been transpiring over the past month and a half. So I'm good.
Hey, but Miles, I was hoping you'd be a little happier in this one. Where they're 5-1 in the last 6. They won 3 in a row. I know Cody Bellinger. We're still waiting on what's happening with Cody Bellinger, but
right before the deadline, by the way, I'm calling a fucking conspiracy. That's crazy.
I mean, ain't nobody. Hey, let's be real. Also, too, I don't think anybody wanted Cody Bellinger anyways. Like with that money, that's my thing. Like, I don't think anybody wanted that. He wasn't gonna. Damn well he wasn't gonna opt out either.
Right?
30
no,
mil,
for sure.
So
for sure.
I don't think anybody. I know. I think I saw somewhere like the Phillies.
I think Philly would have been.
Yeah, Philly was
interested. In my opinion,
yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, I think that is Mike. That is funny you say that about the conspiracy because it's very coincidental that this did happen before. But we will talk about the Cubs first and foremost, as I know Miles does have to go at a certain time. So Miles, we get all out and talk about the Cubs. The last couple of weeks have been a roller coaster because I know even last pod that we recorded, like we were obviously in a pretty bad place. Like the Cubs are just down bad, losing so many games and blowing so many leads and all that. But as much as you don't want to jinx it, you don't want to like get a little too high over just a short stretch, but it does feel a little better though. They're 44 and 49, 3.5 games behind the Padres in the wild card race. Like I said, 5 of their last 6, 3 wins in a row. They've beaten the Orioles in a series. They've beaten the Angels in a series, one back-to-back series for the first time since like May. Yeah. So it's feels good. The bullpen's coming together a little bit, but don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But I'll ask you first, Miles. How do you feel though? Because I know, like I said, there's definitely, you probably asked us a week ago, and we're talking about for sure selling. We're talking about, who's on the table. I mean, we had a conversation in our group chat. It's like World War III in there, because and I don't blame you, because I mean, there's definitely I don't think there's few players that are untouchable on this roster where we're talking, if we're gonna sell. But at the same time, as we've talked about, and I know Gabe has mentioned too, they're in a tough place that they can't really sell that many players, because of contract, because of performance, because of the position they're in. So yeah, Miles, how are you doing as of right now, as a Cubs fan?
Feeling better definitely after this stretch that we've been having. It's been great to see them performing as well as they have. Starting to really see some fire from these boys. Yesterday when I was talking to my dad, I was telling him about a conversation that Mike and I had at a Cubs game, just in terms of the different personality that some of these other teams have around the league. The Cubs aren't exactly a team that has a lot of fiery guys. This is a lot of, when you really look at this ball club, it's a lot of very soft-spoken, just well-mannered dudes who really, they're not going to get in anyone's faces, really. I just don't believe it. It was awesome seeing Justin Steele show some fire. I think my biggest frustration with this ball club this year is that I am always buying into these boys, and I'm always so invested. And the Cubs fans are invested in Wrigley's packed every single time these guys come to town. I have so much frustration when it comes to the management, just in terms of how we have gone into the season, knowing that this same group didn't exactly get the job done last year. We went to this season, the same group, thinking that things would be better. Some of these issues are really starting to rear their ugly faces. I wish you would have just added a few more pieces along the line. I wish I would stop hearing Craig Counsell give the most vanilla, boring answers after every single loss, talking about literally nothing. Is we're not going to win if we don't score more runs. Oh, sorry, Craig, I forgot how baseball works. Yeah, or sports in general. I want to see this group win. Me personally, I don't want to see this ball club sell. I know that we're in a bit of a tough position in terms of selling. I just wish that certain aspects of this organization were thought through a little bit more going into the season. We have a hell of a farm system. I feel like that is something that every Cubs fan should be optimistic about. But kind of like what I said on a few other episodes, the Cubs are in a weird position where it's like the 1 foot in the door to competing, 1 foot out the door when it comes to competing, because we have the prospects. My whole thing with them is make up your mind, because the 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing is not working at the moment. That's where I'm at with everything with them right now.
Yeah, and like, especially nowadays with the wild card race and all that, and how general managers kind of dance around the deadline now. It is. I will be honest, from a fan perspective, it is annoying because you don't know what anybody's doing. They make deals that you're like, what the heck? Like today, the Cubs signed Trace Thompson. Whatever that means.
You better. It's Klay Thompson's brother, sir. You better have respect.
Yeah, but he ain't Klay Thompson though on the baseball field.
He is recent Klay Thompson. I will tell you that much. He is recent.
Bro, it's these little moves that they make. I'm just like, what are we addressing?
He's definitely 0 for 10 in an elimination game, Klay Thompson, but I don't know about 4-time champion Klay Thompson.
I was like Chicago, because you guys know he had 2 stints with the White Sox.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and you know what though? But realistically though, he does actually sometimes goes off for like 5 games.
He does. For a small
he has these weird stretches where he goes crazy.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. So hopefully, if he does play with us, then hopefully he does that.
Shout out Trey Thompson. I will not do any Trey Thompson slander on this pod. I refuse.
Hey, if he does anything for us, I'll build a Trace Thompson.
I will buy. Saul, I want you to mark it right now. What's the timestamp on the Zoom?
1:16 p.m.
1:16 p.m.
July 11th.
Today. If he gets 1 hit in a big league Cubs uniform, I will buy his jersey. I promise you that.
Don't do that,
but it's gotta be the official one. You can't get like a fake one.
Oh, of course. I'm not going on like the Hey,
Oh, man.
and Gabe, I have a Tucker Barnhart jersey just because of that 14-inning game last year against the Marlins because I was drunk off my butt and I was
bless
screaming,
your heart, man.
Tucker Barnhart.
Yeah, we gotta pray for over there, man.
Hey, it's nice. It's a story. It's about the story.
Forgot about Tucker Barnhart in the Cubs.
Shout out
Cubs
Tucker.
legend Tucker Barnhart. Yeah.
Tucker Barnhart. Worst
But yeah.
14 innings.
Yeah. But yeah, Mike,
I'm getting me a PJ Higgins jersey. I don't know about the
Oh,
rest of you.
Jesus.
Oh,
Oh,
my
no, PJ Higgins. Hey, he has some big hits, though, PJ Higgins.
Yeah. Bunch of singles. I don't want to hear that
shit. He's like, hey, no one better than Coy Hill. But hey, we're going down the hill. We're going down the hill. We keep going with Nathan Perez. Anyways, Mike, how are you feeling though? I know, like I said, I know overall it's been frustrating, but I think the last week I hope it fills you up with a little more joy than usual. But yeah, how are you doing?
It's joy in a sense, but it's also frustration because you knew this is what it could have been the entire time. You know what I mean? And you know, to put it in Mike terms, because Miles and I did have a great conversation in the bleachers. I'll put it in how I described it. Got a bunch of white dudes on this ball club, and that's really how I describe it. Like, it's so bland. There's no seasoning to this ball club. I mean, there's no excitement. You know, and that's really what, as a white man, I can tell you, like, there's a difference between playing in Humboldt Park and playing in Skokie, and there's levels to it. And it's like, you know, I think, man, you know, and I hope that didn't come out the wrong way, but, you know, there's no excitement on this ball club. There's nobody that has that dog, has that hustle, has that grind mentality. No, it's not about being a white man. It's about, why are you acting like a businessman on a baseball field? That was my biggest problem, and that's been my biggest.
Took words out my mouth, Mike.
You know, I love Dansby, I love Nico, I love Pat Wisdom, I love these guys, but you jogging around second and going like this or going like this, it doesn't do anything for me. Now, Saul, I know you saw what Shohei Ohtani did sliding in the second. Now that excites me. That's crazy work. That was a devious lick by Shohei, and it doesn't get talked about enough. You can't tell me that man was just shaking off his gloves. But you know, this team, obviously Shota took a little step back in the month of June, and that was expected. I didn't expect him to go out here and have a 2015, 2016 Jake Arrieta season. He's a rookie in the MLB. I can't say the MLB. People get mad. Even though you say the NBA and the NFL and the NHL, someone in my comments told me I was an idiot because I said the MLB, but whatever. I digress. My point though is, like, you know, 7 days ago, I'm spamming Gabe at 1 a.m. about how Nico Horner getting traded is realistic. And now today I'm supposed to have a completely different tune. So I really don't know what to really feel. I guess the only thing, this is my last point. The only thing I really feel is whether we're good or bad. I don't think Jed truly cares yet, because this isn't his product. And I think that's kind of the understanding all of us have had in the group chat when we're talking about it. We understand that he is banking on these 7 top 100 prospects, and that's the team he wants to see on the field, no matter what, at the end of the day. So I don't think anything, whether good or bad, is going to change things for guys like Jed Hoyer or guys like Carter Hawkins, because I truly believe they don't think this is the team that is going to be truly evaluated of, okay, we're failing or we're succeeding. Like, if we're winning, that's great. If we're losing, I don't think he truly cares, because he's waiting on guys like Casey, he's waiting on guys like Horton. And I could see Gabe stirring around a little bit. And I'm with Gabe, because I know where he's going to say, you can't just bank on these guys. At the end of the day, we have more money than we know what to do with at this point. You got casinos, you got hotels, you got all types of shit for a country mile around Wrigley Field. And it's like, at the end of the day, we need to be better. You not only have to worry about the product of 2 years from now, but you need to worry about right here, right now, because that's what's going to happen. So I love, you know, we're beating the best team in baseball. We just diced up Corbin Burns. That's awesome. But at the end of the day, I mean, is it going to change anything 2 weeks from now? Are we going to be having the same conversation? Because the same conversation, Saul, we had on the last pod, injuries. Oh, here's Cody Bellinger. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Right when we started getting hot, bye, Belly. And so I don't know. It's kind of just like, it's kind of like that toxic girlfriend you have. You know, sometimes you have good days, but I have more bad days than good days. So I'm not going to take too much into the good days.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that sentiment, like 100% with this team, especially this season. But yeah, no, and then like what's funny too is that I was listening to John Boy was on the Rich Eisen show, and they were talking about the Yankees, and obviously the Yankees are like just horrendous right now, like 5-16 in the last 21 games. And they were talking about how the bullpen is just a bunch of waiver wires, and it kind of made me think like Jed's not the only one doing this type of stuff when it comes to the bullpen and trying to save money and like do all this, like trying to make like a money ball type bullpen. The other guys around the league, which I mean is pretty frustrating because you know you're really banking on something that you're like, man, I hope this works when you really wish they'd get someone that know works, and that. But I know easier said than done. But you look at some of the guys that that are being brought up though on some positive side of it. Porter Hodges looking good. Hunter Biggie. I wasn't familiar with his work.
Really?
And to be quite honest, no. I mean, I'm looking at everyone else, like other guys, even especially position players.
Right,
I feel
right.
like I like Porter Hodges. I hadn't seen until he pitched in the big leagues, but with Hunter Biggie, I mean, just seeing his fastball, it's not something that you don't see that much when it comes to
Right.
with Cubs pitchers is 100 unless you're like I know
I think that's one of
Palencia.
those conversations I only send to Miles because I don't want to bother you with it. So like literally throughout this entire bullpen stretch, I'd be sending Miles stuff like, yo, there's this guy in AA who looks pretty nice. Do you think he could replace Merriweather? You think he could replace Adbert? You think like I've been doing my work. Trust. I've been trying to find
No,
the missing link.
Yeah, you're probably up at the same time doing that as Jed Hoyer is. Like trying to find somebody at that time because it's like you're like because I mean he just wants people to like help him out from the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't he's not looking, but yeah, it's like I said, hopefully it comes around because you got Mark Leiter back. Like I said, Hodges, you got Merriweather coming back soon. Alzolay coming back soon too as well. So hopefully it's being able to piece together because I'm not trying to have Colton Brewer who is out here breaking his hand punching a freaking punching the dugout wall.
Hey, more white man activities, man. That's what I'm talking about, man. We keep seeing it time and time again. That's a Kyle activity. That's a Kyle activity.
Now y'all know why I ain't a Cub fan.
Man, all right, Gabe. We're not gonna say the Colton Brewer is the ultimate end all be all, but no, I'm with you on that. And to address that really quickly, because I thought we should have had like a smaller segment on that, just a small one. I'll tell you this from personal experience, drunk nights as a young man in Chicago, man, brother. When it's you versus the wall always wins. I don't know. As a grown man, like if I break my hand on a wall, it is what it is. Brother, you just fucked up the product. That's a multi-million-dollar hand. I don't know like what the thought process was if you're trying to show your teammates you care. Like Justin Steele going in the dugout and saying, wake the F up. Yeah, that shows you care. I mean, you walk in and first of all, you give up several bombs throughout the last several games. And then you walk in and just obliterate yourself on an already depleted team full of injuries on an already short bullpen. You just look like an asshole. If Colton Brewer, if you're watching this, if you're watching War Media, they love you. I don't want to take anything away from any of these three amazing gentlemen on here, but I'm talking to you. You're a fucking idiot. That's just like, period. That's what it is. So, I mean, that's punching a wall as a grown man is crazy. But Saul, please, I didn't mean to take over, but please carry on because
no. Hey, look, hey, I will say that was definitely not, that was not smart. That's as opposite as I could put that for sure. I mean, you said it. I mean, you said it pretty well, Mike. But
he said white man activities.
White man activities.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But Gabe
didn't Kelnick do that?
Did he? I'm not sure. I don't think so because I feel like he'd be. I know he got injured like when he was on the Mariners. He might have because I mean he was out for a while, so he might have. Honestly, I would be surprised.
Crazy.
Hey, but he's in Atlanta thriving a little bit better now.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Gabe, how do you feel about the situation though with the Cubs? Because like I said, it's a little frustrating from our end, but at the same time, hopefully things are turning a corner, maybe. Hopefully. But how are you seeing it from the outside looking at?
I'm gonna keep this real brief. Wake me up after the St. Louis series, and I'll let y'all know.
All right.
True.
This is why I can't stand Gabe.
Because I don't give a damn if you can stand what I'm saying or not. And I know it's all love at the end of the day, but I don't care. I'm always keep it real. Y'all playing American League teams. Y'all played the Angels. You was supposed to take 2 out of 3 from them. They're one of the worst teams in the American League. You playing the Orioles. Okay. you win the first games, that's a great team, leading them and everything, but you know that their pitching isn't the best. Now, yeah, you beat Corbin Burns. I can tip my cap to that. I can salute that. But you know why you winning these games? Because guys doing what the hell they supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the time we talked on the Cubs, I told you guys, Ian Happ and Dansby Swanson have been inconsistent. Dansby has really not been in the picture hardly at all. But I said if Ian Happ could get on a hot streak, they'll start winning some games.
Mhm.
It coincide with Happ's hot streak, they'll win some games and Seiya Suzuki. They've been doing that. So now you took in 2 out of 3 in your last couple series. You got a chance to sweep Baltimore and Camden Yards. That'd be a big win for you guys. But now you got 4 against St. Louis. You're 10 games back. That's going to let me know everything I need to know as to whether or not they're going to be official buyers or official sellers. And then if you can handle business against St. Louis and you come back home and you play Arizona after the All-Star break, that'll let me know even more. Because right now, you're in the moment of truth. This is the playoffs for the Chicago Cubs right now. If you're a fan, you should be on pins and needles. You should. Because every game from here on out until July 29th and 30th is going to determine whether or not your team will be buyers or sellers at the deadline. And even if they are sellers, I don't see them being big-time sellers. I only see a few guys that might get moved. And when people say, well, there's no market for Cody Bellinger, shit, you mean to tell me the Seattle Mariners can't use Cody Bellinger right now with the trophy that they have? You mean to tell me the Philadelphia Phillies cannot use Cody Bellinger right now? There's a reason why you see their names linked to Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, and even Luis Robert Jr., who I think it would take a monster haul for them to get. And I don't know if they have enough. But for Cody Bellinger, they'll find a way. And Dave Dombrowski, a guy that I know very well, is from Illinois, Evergreen Park native. He always going to be in the thick of things when it's at the trade deadline. He don't give a damn about prospects. You know, he'll ship them off left and right to help his team win in the now. But as far as I'm concerned, wake me up when you guys are done playing St. Louis.
And for that point though, because we kind of never talk about it, and Saul brought it up, and I think and you brought it up as well. I think it's a great point. I kind of wanted your opinion on it. You know, we talk about, the best ability is availability. And when you're on the field, I have to judge you for what you have. And I think we all in this room understand. Now, every Cub fan understands Dansby Swanson's fighting through something right now. Obviously, that knee injury that he suffered early in the season is still messing with him. And I think we all understand as former athletes, and so I'm a track star.
Middle school track star.
I'm kidding. But I think, we understand that, I commend you for being on the field and being here, but I still have to judge you. So how do you judge Dansby Swanson knowing he's not, and not saying how do you judge him, but like, how do you evaluate him, when he's not fully healthy? Do you think it would have been better if we would have just rested him? Because let's be real. I mean, we have been horrible. So would it have made that much of a difference had we just rested Dansby longer, had him come back around this time, rather than have him dragged through the mud the last month and a half during this knee injury? Because I think that's kind of the mismanagements through Craig Counsell to Miles's point. I just keep hearing we have to throw strikes, we have to strike guys out, and we have to hit the ball. No fucking shit. Like, that's, you know what I mean? I try every time to come on here and not swear, but they do it. If you watch my sock segments, I don't swear. Cubs segments, I am.
Well, if I was at the curb right now, I would. Oh my god, I would have to kick me off the show.
But that's my. So what do you think about the whole Dansby thing and the fact of, you have some guys like, I know we don't want to see him, Madrigal, we have Master Boney, you have Wisdom, guys who could have replaced Dansby for the short term, but instead you rolled him out after what, a 10-day, 15-day IL, and then brought him back knowing he wasn't going to be better.
This is the way I feel. You damned if you do, you damned if you don't. When you the highest paid man on the team, you always gonna catch strays. You can never please fans. In baseball culture, as you know, and I'm sure Miles as well, when guys are hurt, they try to play through it. I've experienced that in a similar situation on the South Side with Tim Anderson a season ago. I heard fans talking all type of stuff about Tim Anderson. I'm like, you guys don't know what this guy's playing through. You know what I'm saying? And he's not going to complain about it because that's not what he's getting paid to do. And as a competitor, he doesn't want to show any sign of weakness. And yeah, you bring up these guys that could have replaced him, such as a Miles Mastrobuoni or a Nick Magical or whatever. But at the same time, let those guys replace him for a 1 or 2 week span. Them guys not hitting. Then you got fans wanting to know why isn't Dansby playing. So I commend them for wanting to play through it. Does it affect how you judge him a little bit to a certain degree? You know, but at the same time, like I said, I respect the fact that he's trying to play through it as a competitor, and not only as a competitor, is a fan and an observer of the game of baseball. So as long as he feels like he can play through it, fine, let him play through it. And hopefully, you know, the All-Star break can give him a chance to reset and refresh and not only get his body back right, but his mind back right if the Cubs are still within the thick of things in the NL Central. That's all you can really do. I mean, it's Major League Baseball. Everybody playing with some injuries. I mean, imagine the guys that are playing with, you know, tweaks here and there that you don't hear about.
Yeah, and Gabe, to what you said earlier too is like, but you know, you mentioned NL Central. I think, to be quite honest with you, I know the season's long. NL Central is over with with the Cubs. Maybe the Cardinals or maybe somebody else can get hot, the Reds or something. But the Cubs stop worried about the Central. And I see fans all the time on Twitter like, the Cubs are 11 games out. They got to sell. Like, you know, I get it. You got to sell too. I understand the selling part in general. Like, you can, and that's fine. But nobody cares about the Central anymore. Like, they're not going to win the Central. Like, they're 3.5 games back on the wild card. That's where like, you know, realistically they're still in it. That's why they might buy. Will they? Obviously, who knows? It's still 2 weeks or whatever before that happens. And I'm right with you, Gabe. You're right. If they come out and like lose 3 out of 4 to the Cardinals, then we're back to where we were a week ago. You know, and maybe even more so. Maybe I'm, you know, so
2 a.m. group chat's about to go crazy.
We're trading everybody. We're trading Clark.
I'll be like, this Chicago Dogs player is really great, bro. I think we should give him the Zion kid's crazy.
Yeah, no, we be in the best spot, but Miles, I know you want to say something. Go ahead,
bro. Baseball is such a mental game, and like even in like my struggles to see offensively, I just feel for Dansby, man, because I feel like he has proven even last year, and this is in his career, like he knows he doesn't want to struggle. You know what I mean? Why is there a thumbs up? Sorry, I just
they are agreeing. They are agreeing. Zoom said you're valid.
Yeah. You know, it's we know Dansby wants to go out there and play, and as a matter of fact, get a 2-hit game last time. It's the interesting thing about, you know, it's like a hitter. It's just like all it takes is like 1 or 2 games. You know what I mean? And just that's what I'm hoping for Dansby. And I think that's why I haven't been too hard on him this year, because I know that he is someone who cares deeply. And you know, as it was said earlier, I wonder what else is going on outside of baseball. We see him as kind of like a golden boy. There's not much really, you know, you never know what something like Dansby. It's to me, it's extremely strange. We know that he's not known specifically for his bat, more his defense, his stays at Vandy. But even in general, Dansby's someone who I'm rooting for, and I've heard a lot of Cubs fans get on him. I can't be one of them yet. I really like Dansby, so I'm hoping that whatever. God, stop it. So whatever it is that he's going through, I'm hoping that to overcome it. I just, you know, I'm really running out of patience with Jed and Carter. That's where I'm frustrated. Just the Cubs fans like, all right, where are we going? What exactly do they want out of this group? What exactly do they want going forward? I don't think they know that. Gabe, you made an incredible point. I think that St. Louis series is going to be huge. It's going to be huge going forward in terms of what they're going to do after that. I just wish that there's a little more of a clear-cut plan. There are a few other moves made prior to this, so we were not in this position.
And do you think, like, I think as fans, you're frustrated. You know, Saul has talked about it before, about like you wanting to live in right now. You know, we're trying to figure out what direction we're going in. You know, that's the fans' perspective. That's the media's perspective. The players, I mean, if you're the players, if I'm, you know, Dansby Swanson, maybe not Dansby because, you know, he's got the contract, but if you're a player on a shorter deal, you're kind of looking at that and you're like, okay, obviously you have your boys in South Bend and Tennessee and in Iowa that you truly care about. What does that mean about us? Like, do you not believe
Right.
in this group, this cohesive group right here? Because that's the problem for me is like, I'm not saying trade Owen Casey, trade James Triantos, trade all these guys and get us a superstar. I'm just saying it doesn't feel like you actually care about the current product on the team. And when those guys do come up, what does that mean about my job? Am I safe? And that, luckily when your cornerstone outfielders both have no trade clauses, I don't think everybody's feeling that way. But if I'm Saul will help me out. Who's a mid-tier player that we could name? If I'm a Michael
Wait.
Bush, if
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a Michael Bush or a Mike Talkman or anybody named Mike, I think I'm kind of feeling kind of strange. Other than Shota, that is the only Mike that is safe at this point. But I think it's a weird feeling because that ball club probably thinks that the higher ups don't truly believe in this current group as constructed. That's how I would take it.
Yeah, I mean,
Be
we
pissed
saw
off as a player
okay.
if I was them. That would
Yeah.
piss me off. I would be furious because your actions are showing that, whether you're saying it or not. Oh my gosh, I would be so angry just knowing that is we're going out there to battle every single day and we're not getting results we want. We also see the management is doing anything to counter that besides a bunch of little BS moves throughout the season that really don't do anything. Yeah, I was just adding to
a lot of mixed.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say when I look at it from the outside looking in. It's a lot of mixed messages. You give Craig Counsell all of this money to come in and take over the reins as the manager of the Chicago Cubs, but you don't give him a blockbuster free agent signing. But you still have this payroll that's over 200 plus million, but it's not netting you any significant results. Right. So when that happens, you're faced with a decision. What are you going to do? Are you going to seek to buy in an effort to get one of these wild card spots? Because I agree with you, Saul. The Central is over, even though you might still be a week or two away from being in the thick of things. But I do think that the Central is Milwaukee's to lose at this point. But that wild card race is very interesting. You got a lot of teams trying to fight for those second and third spots. So if you could get one of them, do you want to do that? Or do you want to seek to continue to build on what you have down on the farm in the hopes that when 26 rolls around, maybe you can compete? Or even next year, once you bring some of these guys up, once they show you and prove to you that they're ready.
And that could be why.
Yeah.
My bad, Saul. Go ahead.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
Oh, but I was just gonna say, like you said it, Gabe, and that's the part that you really listen. I'm a huge conspiracy guy. After 2 a.m. text with you guys, I'm 3 a.m. on YouTube watching conspiracy theory. But Jed might have brought Craig Counsell in and made him the highest paid manager to manage the Chicago Cubs, but that doesn't mean he wanted him to manage this specific team. You know what I mean? Like that's why you don't bring in a big free agent. And I think he's thinking, I want Craig here to build a culture so that when Owen Casey, James Triantos, Cade Horton, Matt Shaw, all these guys come up, that's the team I want him to manage. Is that good thinking? No, because it's a big FU to the guys who are currently here. But that's how I would look at it and be like, you overpaid for your product, for your kids. It's like paying the best daycare in the world to watch your sons. Like, that's really what it is. I mean, that's coming down to it at the end of the day. Did you want your old ass grandpa and David Ross to watch your kids, or did you want one of the better facilities to be able to do it? So I think that's really, for me, where I would look at it, especially when we talk about the Cubs, who had one of the best free agent signings, but you can't really say that, you earned that because it's a 4-year, $53 million deal with Mike Shota Imanaga. So, we have to understand that we got lucky and we got blessed that Imanaga is who he was. Because if he wasn't, what would we have talked about from April to current day other than the other day against Baltimore? So just to talk about that, it's like, I don't know. I think he brought in Counsell understanding that it's a long-term move. But I just immediately after the free agency ended, I felt like it had nothing to do with this current season.
Yeah. And I mean, I mean, you're honestly, I wouldn't dismiss that at all. I feel like that's legit. Like they would never say that, but I feel like it's somehow you could prove that. Cause you look at this team and it's like a lot of people say it. And I've heard plenty of people say it, that this was never a playoff team. Like Jed was just banking on like, hey, maybe they do what they did last year and compete and stay in it. Maybe they get a wild card spot, like whatever. But if they don't, who cares? They were never that good anyway. Like that's how some people perceive that, and see how the Cubs are right now at this state of things. But yeah, and then you're talking about where we'd be without Shota. I mean, who knows where we'd be? I mean, who knows where we'd be without this rotation? Because they have the best starting rotation ERA in the big leagues, and by like 0.28 points, so 0.18 points, excuse me. So it's like, where they'd be, like if they just had like an average pen with a guy who could close games out, like who knows where they'd be, so it's like it doesn't feel like they're far away from the team they should be. But I think that's also what makes it so frustrating, because you're like, they could be right there, but they're not. So I think that is, as kind of like Mike alluded to earlier, that is probably one of the more annoying things about this whole thing, is just like where where they should be with some of the players they have, but it's not working out. But like Dansby too, I will say, is like, I mean, defensively he's come around, because I know we had a shaky April. He's come around now, but like I think somehow, and I don't think any of us in this podcast have alluded to this at all, but there's some people that like expect way more offense from Dansby, and he's never been that guy.
No,
like he's never been a guy that's going to give you 850 OPS,
right.
going to hit you 30 bombs. Like he is at best maybe like an average hitter. Like it's just the way it is. If you look at his baseball reference page, that's what he is. And I think a lot of people like, and I get it, but but Gabe, as you're 100% right. When you're making that much money, you got to take it, and you just have to, and you just have to, like, it is what it is. So I definitely don't disagree with that. Same with Craig Counsell. Like I know that I still want Craig Counsell over David Ross, but I know that ultimately if I had to write an essay on that, it wouldn't be that long, because I don't have that many reasons right now. But I will say, like, when you're making that money that Craig Counsell is, you have every right to criticize him, like every right, because he's making that much. So it's like you want a better, result. And I think the last thing I will say too is that with Craig Counsell, I think Mike, I think also one of the reasons they hired him, and not the only one that thinks this way, is maybe they hired him and they're like, hey, do a lot with a little. So like he did with the Brewers,
right?
But I feel like the Brewers, the way they're run, man, is way different from the Cubs.
Yeah.
Even though the Cubs are not like, they're not like, they're not left in the dust or anything like that. They're definitely into analytics, but the way the Brewers run their organization is top tier. They're up there with the Rays, and just the way they handle guys and the way they turn guys into, I mean, they got Trevor McGill out there. Like, it's crazy, because he used to be because they got Colin Ray out there. Like, it's crazy.
They get the best out of guys.
Devin Williams hurt.
Yeah.
They still 15 games over 500. But I want to say something real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
I understand that to whom much is given, much is required, as it says in the Bible. I get that 100%.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But at the same time, with Craig Counsell, when you the manager, whether you the highest paid or the lowest paid, you got to give me some horses to run with. You got to. And if I'm looking at my bullpen and I got a 2-run, 3-run lead, it's not too many options that I can trust that can consistently hold it down for me. And then you add that to the fact that when my offense is being up and down and inconsistent, that leads to more trouble. When the offense scores runs, it's easier to stretch your starting pitchers out with the way that they pitching. When they give you some cushion and whatnot. But for the most part, like you said, your starting pitching has kept you in more games often than not. Like if you take the records, if baseball was a 7-inning game as opposed to a 9-inning game, we talk about a totally different team.
Hold on, bro, because y'all heard this man, but y'all ain't hear this man. They was looking down. Gabe, spit your Bible verse one more time, because Gabe's spitting sometimes, dog.
Yeah,
Gabe, say that shit again.
Emails and doing this at the same time. I'm sorry.
Man.
We're multitasking. I heard it, but you can say it again, Gabe. Go ahead.
Some heavy hitters news came out. Yeah, go ahead.
It's in the book of Luke.
There you go. Hey. Let Gabe cook. That's all. That's why you just gotta step back and let Gabe cook. And we always.
Yo, if you repeat this episode, man, the way my jaw, I was damn. It's 12 in the afternoon on a Thursday. What are we doing here? Getting biblical. I love Gabe.
It's preach up.
Hey, it's baseball. What the baseball season does to you, it gets you. You gotta look deep inside.
Baseball like anything. It's a way of life, real shit.
Yeah. Oh man, but I know we definitely we've gone off with the Cubs and rightfully so. I mean they're in a very weird spot, but I do want to hit up Gabe's White Sox now because as like I said, from the win-loss perspective, it hasn't been pretty, but at the end of the day, that doesn't even matter anymore. I think the development of the guys is probably the most important thing now, and we're seeing a lot of good stuff now. I mean, like just seeing the way that the guys like Cannon, Thorpe, Crochet, even the veterans like Fetty are pitching right now. Like it's actually fun to watch. Like as much as the bullpen is out there, giving up leads and all that stuff. Like that part's not fun for sure. But yeah, the Kopech, who you hope is turning a corner with that immaculate inning. So we'll see. But like in Gabe, how do you feel about what you've seen when it comes to not only the youngsters, but even guys like Lennon Sosa looking like they're looking a little better at the plate? You got they brought up Jake Eater. He didn't pitch, but he's getting closer, I guess. So maybe that's kind of what they might wanted to say with that, bringing him up as a 27th man in that doubleheader. But what have you thought about what you've seen from these younger guys these last few weeks?
I see young guys that can be guys that you can build with in the future. You take what Drew Thorpe is doing right now, and he was phenomenal to watch yesterday. And even though he gave up, back-to-back homers in his final inning in the sixth inning, yesterday, he was solid, man. Like he's the first pitcher in White Sox history to throw 6 or more innings, allow 2 runs or fewer, and allow 3 hits or fewer in 4 straight starts. And yesterday marked his 6th start as a big leaguer. He's able to pinpoint pitches. He's not fancy. He's not flashy. It's not all velo with him. He looks like a guy that's been here and done it before. He doesn't look like a guy that has just recently gotten called up from the minors in Double-A Birmingham. You understand when you watch him pitch why they didn't feel a need to send him to Charlotte. That's a guy that potentially could be your number 3 starter, if not your number 2 starter in a rotation, alongside of a Garrett Crochet in the event that the White Sox decide to keep him and sign him to a long-term extension and Noah Schultz. And if he's your number 3 starter, you're doing pretty damn good in my book. So I like what I'm seeing from Drew Thorpe. Jonathan Cannon, his ability to mix up 6 and several different pitches on a nightly basis, he's been solid. He's keeping the team in a ball game. And Eric Fetty, who I believe that the White Sox will be able to get a significant prospect back for with the amount of injuries that have hit a lot of these starting pitching staffs across Major League Baseball. He's been a godsend, man, and a pleasure to watch. Watching him find a way to navigate yesterday through a bases loaded jam with nobody out in the top of the first inning and not give up a run and still finish 5 innings strong, only walking 2 guys, striking out 5 or 6. That was a hell of an outing. And those are outings that potentially has a way to build on. Because if he can do that, man, someone's going to get a very good pitcher. And that's been one of Chris Getz's biggest wins thus far in his time being a GM, which is almost approaching a year now. To be able to get him for 2 years, $15 million, you can tell he put a lot of work in a career to his craft, and it's paying off for him. He could easily be an all-star this year if it wasn't for, everything that's taking place on the South Side. And seeing Lennon Sosa play well has been fun to watch it also. This is a guy that has had multiple chances, not made the most of them, but he's always been a slow starter at every level, even dating back to his time in the minors. But once he gets the hang of it, he proves himself to be a guy that may not be an everyday player, but could be a solid utility player. And if this is who he indeed is, then this is a guy that could possibly have a job as a starting second baseman on the 2025 White Sox. So I like what I'm seeing from the young guys. Of course, the bullpen needs some work, but with guys like Jordan Leisure coming back up, a guy that I never thought should have left in the first place, it's good to see some of these young players starting to play well in what is, let's be real, it's a lost season. Playoff hopes and aspirations ended a long time ago. I don't think anybody with a logical mind should have ever had that mindset if they were a White Sox fan coming into the year. But seeing what I've seen from the young guys has been positive, especially the pitching staff. And I really hope that as the season goes along, that they stretch some of these guys. Because Drew Thorpe only threw 76 pitches yesterday through 6 innings. He could have easily won 7.
Yeah, no, I mean, with those guys, like that's what's made White Sox baseball, I feel like, worth watching in the last couple months. And when I was looking stuff up with these guys, I mean, it's kind of crazy if you look at it. And I feel like a lot of Sox fans, maybe baseball fans, wouldn't even believe me if I said this, but since June 1st, the White Sox have the 3rd best starting rotation ERA in the big leagues. And like that's like, for a team that is said to be the worst in baseball, it's hasn't really played like it in the last month or so, even a couple months, to be quite honest with you, when you really look at the way the guys have played and stuff like that. And yeah, and yeah, with the thing is, even with, and as much, I know, Gabe, I know you're not on the trade Crochet train at all. And I've said too, that, even though it could happen, it might happen in the offseason, whatever it is. And like, if they didn't, like, I feel like any other team, if they had Crochet, they'd be hugging this dude and keeping him, because you're telling me next year you're opening the season with a rotation of Crochet, Thorpe, Cannon, nice. And name anybody else. Like, even hell, I still believe in Nastrini. Like that dude. I think he got good stuff. Obviously, when he came up this season, it hasn't looked great. When it comes to the results, but his stuff is there, and I feel like has a determination to make the rotation even next year. So that's the type of thing that, like, yeah, I'm sure. And Gabe, I'm sure you're frustrated as anybody to hear that type of stuff of like trading these dudes, because if they had these guys and they coming into 2025, like that sounds pretty damn promising.
I think Nick Nastrini long term is a reliever.
Okay.
White Sox are so deep from a pitching standpoint that they can mix and match how they want to do this. Jairo Iriarte, who's in Double-A Birmingham, will more than likely at some point be in the 2025 White Sox rotation. Noah Schultz, who continues to impress in Double-A start after start, at some point, I expect to be up here by midsummer next year.
Yeah.
Like Kai Bush, who is going to get called up probably after the trade deadline. And I think he's the next guy on deck alongside of Mason Adams. Like, you talk about a team that can have a 6-man rotation to close out the season. That's how deep they are pitching. So if they want to trade Garrett Crochet, I'm not going to say that I'm necessarily against it, as long as you have every intention on getting a big-time veteran free agent next winter to bolster this rotation, because they're going to need a veteran to eat up some minutes besides these young guys. Only thing is, if you trade Garrett Crochet, you can't miss on that trade.
100%.
You can't miss on that trade. You have to get a prospect back that is at least in
Double-A,
yeah. or Triple-A. Like, I'm talking Kobe Mayo type prospect. Like, otherwise, I'm not trading him. I don't think the Dodgers have enough, and they have a great farm system. It's not a disrespect to their farm system. I don't think the Dodgers have enough, or the Phillies have enough, or even the Padres, unless they're going to put Ethan Salas and DeVries on the table. I don't think they have enough to make a move for him. And the fact that he's a first-year starting pitcher on an innings limit and has pitched over 100 plus for the first time in his career, that might scare off some teams.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think with Crochet, that's why I think most likely these deals happen in the offseason. Crochet, Robert, if they are to be traded, it would be I think it'll be in the offseason. I just think they need to see. I think teams want to see another full season at least, Robert, for the most part. I know he missed some time this year, but see, for like a good 120 games. They want to see a full season of Crochet as a starter. I think they can't really sell the house without really knowing what a full season with Crochet. I know eventually they got to measure his innings and all that, but yeah, no, and you're right. And look, yeah, Gabe, at the end of the day too, is like, if they were to trade Crochet, like, yeah, you made a good point. Like, all these guys that they have, like Schultz, I know people have talked about even like being the future ace. Like, that's how good he is. Like, he's Schultz, Drew, like, so you're talking about a 1-2 punch of Schultz and Drew Thorpe. Like, you could make an argument that doesn't even need Crochet at that point. Like, if they're going to be that good, you can make a good argument with the rest of the guys. But Mike, what's from outside looking in, like, what have you thought about these White Sox? Like I said, not just a win-loss, but like in general, like the guys that are pitching well and showing they're here to stay for a long time for these White Sox.
I was wrong. I was dead wrong. I'll tell you that. And I think it's okay to be wrong, because obviously hate in my heart comes first and always when it comes to the South Side of Chicago, and the Chicago White Sox in specific. Shout out South Side, but not that specific area, right? Not 35th and Sheffield. We're not rocking with that. But yeah, we call it Sheffield over here because we're the deepest in y'all mind. But in all seriousness, though, man, like there's some dogs in this ball club that Gabe isn't mentioning, that you're not mentioning, that nobody, even myself, haven't publicly mentioned. My guy, Ole Miss captain Tim Elko, is in Double-A right now, batting 293 with 8 home runs on the year. He's a captain on a phenomenal team. I mean, and this is obviously collegiate we're talking about, but what he's been able to do, they get him in the 10th round. I mean, it was the 311th overall pick. He's batting 293 in Double-A right now. This is a guy who I believe defensively is going to be one of the Sox better first basemen as they continue to grow, continue to develop. Obviously, you got the Colson Montgomerys that everybody's going to talk about, the Drew Thorpes, and that's amazing. But guys like Tim, I'm seeing, and that's just an outlier. That's just one guy. But, there's multitudes of them throughout the Sox farm system right now. I'm seeing guys continue to grow, continue to develop. I knew Tim was that guy. I've known Tim personally. He's a great cat. We gotta hook him up with Warren Media. But I think the one thing for me is seeing this farm system actually become something. I talked about it earlier, and why you don't trade away a Nico Horner, why you don't trade away a Cody Bellinger, is because you understand that the kids are coming and they're on their way pretty fast. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see what Crochet, Robert, Kopech, and all these guys can do when they have these young studs next to them as well. You have an Andrew Vaughn still, who I'm still very high on. I believe he's just going to go more to that DH role once they figure out what to do with Eloy. That's just my opinion. But when you bring guys up like Tim, like Colson, like Drew continues to get better, like Gabe said, I mean, this rotation is amazing. So I think, I would rather hold on to the guys like Luis Robert Jr. I would rather hold on to Kopech and Crochet, because it's going to be one of those things where, it's very easy to say you can replace them, but I want to put into the fact that it's been 4 years and the Chicago Cubs still don't have an indefinite first baseman since moving on from Anthony Rizzo. So it's easier said than done. Still don't have a third baseman since moving on from Chris Bryant. I love Michael Busch. I love Christopher Morel. Are they them at their highest level? No. How are you going to replace a Luis Robert Jr.? Like Gabe said, you're going to have to give me a generational haul. And I just don't think a lot of teams are willing to, one, do that, and two, willing to even have the package to acquire that. You can trade away. The Cubs could trade away their entire farm right now and get Luis Robert Jr. But do the White Sox want the Cubs' entire farm? You know what I mean? Does that equate to one player versus several? And I think that's really how you got to look at it. So I love what they're doing right now. I think they're really in a position to have success. We don't have to talk about it, but just to fill a little airtime. I mean, like, the only one that I think is dead in the water on this roster is Yoan Moncada. That experiment is over. I don't see that in any way reshaping or turning into something else. Like, oh, he's going to change his game. No, he just wasn't that guy. And that's okay. We see it time and time again. Brennan Davis, love him, breaks his back every single year. And that's not a shot. That's just genuine. Like, you either can't produce or injuries keep you off the field when you're a number one prospect in baseball. And it's very rare that a number one prospect really does pan out in the way. I mean, look at Jackson Holiday. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they continue to grow, continue to develop. My last and only thing I would say that I'm still not rocking with is the manager's position. Not really rocking with Pedro whatsoever. He's made a couple comments where, to me, Gabe, you're the diehard here. You've made a couple comments to me that is like, you want to get out of here. You're trying to speak your way into getting fired in some ways, because it's like, it just doesn't always feel like he has the team's back, and I understand there's the Craig Counsell version where it's like, you're just giving straight answers. And then there's the David Ross where you're holding on the guys a little too tight. But with Pedro, I just don't feel like they're fully engraved in creating a culture. I think he's kind of sunk into the madness of losing too many games. And I think that happens sometimes, but I could be wrong on that because I'm not watching every game. But it's just the vibe I've been getting is like, I don't feel like if your manager doesn't want to be here, I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? Like, Saul's not showing up to NBC Chicago if he's the only person in the building that actually wants to be there. You know what I mean? So I think that's where I'm at with it.
I get exactly what you mean. And me and Saul have talked on this and spoken on this many times. I think this is Pedro Grifal's last season in Chicago. I really do. And if I was Jerry Reinsdorf in his shoes, I've told Saul this on and off the record. I would have gotten rid of Pedro Grifal like around the second or third week of April when they dropped the game against Minnesota when Eric Fetty really had his coming out party.
Yeah.
This let us know exactly what type of pitcher he was going to be. And to see the way in which he managed the bullpen kind of tight, which has always been a tradition with him, and putting guys in roles that they're not necessarily accustomed to being in, and we haven't seen them in, that was a problem to me. I do think that losing the way that he has done a number on him. You can look at him and see sometimes when they pan in on him in the dugout. And I've been at games, and I always pay attention to both sides of the clubhouse or in the dugout, and I see the tension in his face. I can see it, and I think he knows that he's done. And sometimes he shows it by the way in which he puts up the lineup card. Some of the decisions that he makes are very questionable. I don't expect Pedro Grifal to be around in 2025 and beyond. I think he's a lame duck manager right now, just waiting to roast when the chickens come up. That's the end of the season.
Damn, Gabe is crazy today, bro.
I keep it real, man. I mean, that's the way I see it. And when you talk about Tim Elko, a guy that is really impressed and performed very well at Double-A Birmingham, but it's a guy that I don't think enough White Sox fans are even talking about. And unless you really know the farm system, you probably never even heard of him, and that's Brooks Baldwin.
Yeah, Brooks Baldwin.
A 12-round draft pick out of UNC Wilmington, who led the Southern League in batting average, got called up on the 4th of July to Charlotte in AAA. His first pitch in AAA, he hits it out the left field, home run. This guy, everybody talks about Colson. It's getting to a point where I'm starting to wonder as an observer, from afar, and even as a fan, is Brooks Baldwin going to get called up first before Colson Montgomery does?
And that's an amazing problem too. That's an amazing problem to have.
It's a great problem, but it's also even better to have those two there, and then Edgar Carroll alongside of him, who also hit a home run in his AAA debut. Now he got guys around him that he's going to more than likely be up with within the next year. And it's nothing like iron sharpening iron. And I think that's what those guys are doing. And they're building a culture in the minor league system. And I give a kudos to Sergio Santos, the manager in Double-A Birmingham, and even Brian Bannister for tapping in enough to go travel across the country, going to Birmingham, working with a Jake Eater, having Jake Eater coming into Chicago as a 27-man yesterday in a doubleheader to really get a workout. I know a lot of fans thought that he was going to make his major league debut, but he was really just getting a workout here in advance before he got promoted to AAA Charlotte. That's all that was. But just let you guys see what it takes to perform and be at their best at this level. Sometimes what they need to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like my last point, because I don't know how much time we have left. I don't want Saul to like just hit the gavel on me. First, I want to say, Gabe, it is nothing that you've said that has wowed me today. It's the way in which you've said it. I mean, the roasting on the chicken is crazy work. So I commend you today because it's been bar after bar. I mean, the man is it is Chance the Rapper 2016 hours in here. So but for me, I think what I'm really noticing and what I commend for the White Sox organization is you had a doubleheader yesterday, and you could have brought in a guy who a lot of people wanted to see. Probably wouldn't have played, probably wouldn't have started, but maybe he would have gotten that bat. I commend them not doing that because, as we talked about earlier with Cody Bellinger, Cody Bellinger is going to go down and he's going to go on the IL for a little bit. Alexander Canario is going to come up. He's not going to start. He's probably going to get one at bat every few days, and he's going to look like shit. And that's what's going to happen. And it's because the Cubs do this thing where they just continue to throw guys in when they're not ready, throw guys in way too early, or it's that on and off of in April, I'm in AAA. In May, I'm in the majors. In June, I'm in the majors again. But then in July, I'm back in AAA. And it's that inconsistency balance of trying to develop players. The Sox, hey, you want to see Colson Montgomery? Too fucking bad. We're grooming him into who we know he can potentially be. We're developing him into one of the cornerstone players, a pillar to a championship team. Where for the Cubs, okay, here's Matt Mervis. Here's Michael Busch, who's 27, so I'm not even mad that Michael Busch came up. But P. Crow Armstrong, here's all these guys who haven't spent too much time in AAA. I mean, look at Matt Mervis, single A, double A, triple A, major leagues, all in a span of 365 days in 2022, 2023. And that's one of the things for me where with the White Sox organization, they understand the goal. The goal is to lose as many games as possible. So when you get that draft pick, you hit on it. You can get a Paul Skeens. You can get an Austin Riley. You can get one of these guys that are just absolutely phenomenal ball club players. And I think that's really where I'm at right now is the way this the major team, woof. I mean, it's been bad, but that's the goal. From the way you can dictate whether an organization is going about it the right way is if their farm system is going about it the right way. Like the goal here is to be just as bad as you possibly can at the highest level. But from single, double, triple, Arizona, Florida, wherever you are, everything needs to be great. And I think they're doing that the right way. So it's a rare Mike W for the White Sox organization on this pod today. So I just wanted to give flowers to Gabe because this was one of the worst farm systems in baseball analytically going into this season. And it was too. It's been the complete opposite. And as a minor league junkie, I think it's a lot of fun to watch some Charlotte baseball right now.
It is. And the one thing I'll say, I don't know if this was the goal, though. I think what happened is they were so damn bad to the point where they didn't have any choice but to pivot to the future. And one thing about Chris Getz, I think Chris Getz has had enough time in the White Sox front office to kind of learn what to do and what not to do, knowing who he works for in Jerry Reinsdorf and his reluctance to spend big money. If there is any way you're going to be able to build a sustainability type of brand on the South Side when it comes to his baseball team, you're going to have to do it through the farm. You may be able to spend here and there, and he's definitely going to have to spend to get several bats this winter because his offense is very putrid right now. They got to get some experienced pros and vets, guys that know how to put quality ABs in the house sooner rather than later. But I don't think that this was the plan. I think this just had to become the plan because the team was that bad. And
that's how you make change, though. You know what I mean? Like we talk about the Bulls all the time. You can sign DeMar, you can sign Zach LaVine, but at the end of the day, the Bulls organization run by Jerry Reinsdorf, you're going to have to draft extremely well because we're not going to get a guy on a $200+ million deal. And if we do, it's probably the wrong guy. So like it's a great way of thinking. And to your point, like that's the only way I think you can deal with Jerry or somebody like the Oakland A's. We talk about the money ball stuff all the time. The only reason you get away with stuff like that is crazy analytics, which was the first time that people were really using it, or you draft extremely well. And just like with the Cubs organization, very similar. As soon as those guys aren't rookies anymore, as soon as they aren't on rookie deals, that's when everything goes back to shit because we're not going to pay them. So I'm excited for you, bro. I think these young studs are going to be a lot of fun.
But see, like when you talk about how the Cubs have bought prospects up quick, the White Sox done did that shit too. Andrew Vaughn got bought up quick. He was drafted in.
That's a different regime, though, isn't it?
It was the Rick Hahn regime, but still, that's what I'm saying. Chris Getz worked under Rick. Right. He learned what to do and what not to do through those situations. I remember having a conversation with a fan last year who was talking shit about Vaughn. I said, man, I want to ask you a question. I said, don't take this the wrong way. I said, what's the highest level of minor league baseball do you think that Andrew Vaughn has played? He said, AAA. I said, Andrew Vaughn never played at AAA. He said, AA. I said, he never played at AA. I said, the highest ball that he played was in Kannapolis. He had his 2020 season taken away from him due to COVID. And he was at the training facility. And he got called up because Eloy Jimenez got hurt in spring training.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to pay to get a replacement on the open market. That's why he got his opportunity. He was playing out of position. And so I see Andrew Vaughn struggling. I always tell fans, think about the way in which that guy was developed. That plays a role, whether you want to admit that or not.
Yeah, and you look at Andrew Vaughn. I mean, in the draft, I remember they were saying he was like a big league ready bat. Like he had a great bat coming out of the draft, and we've seen him in. And yeah, look, as Mike said, like I trust me, the inconsistency is annoying, and I feel like if you would just pick a lane with certain prospects, I get it. And I think like the White Sox are doing a great job with Colson. Like he's struggling right now, but adversity, it sometimes it makes great players. Right now he's not playing as well as he should be playing, or I'm sure he expects to be playing, but I'm not personally not too worried. I don't get also too stressed on numbers in the minor leagues as great as guys are playing, as bad as guys are playing. I think we also see that with the Cubs. Like, there's a reason Ballesteros is not up here yet. You don't get too high on certain stats, even though that's impressive, and I do want to see him. You can't get too high on certain guys. But
Pete Crow Armstrong. I mean,
a guy like PCA, like if you're gonna the thing with me is like if you're gonna have him up here, like play him every day.
exactly.
If you want to develop a guy in the big leagues, develop him in the big leagues, right? You know what I mean? Like if you're going to develop in minor leagues, then develop him there. But like, don't bring up a guy and then keep him on the bench. That's the way I see it. And like they were saying this earlier in the season. Carter Hawkins said this on 670. He's like the reason we sent down PCA. This was like in May, was because he wasn't going to get that many at bats up here. And like that, okay, I get that, yeah. But like
he's still not getting at bats.
Yeah, he's not getting that many at bats. I know that recently. I think this last week he was just. I think it was because of his hand because he hurt his hand around the bases.
Something he had stitches or something.
Yeah. But like it's just one of those things where it's just frustrating because you want to develop a player, but he's not playing every day. And the Pedro Grifol thing too is like, dude, like yeah, he's out of here. And some people wanted him. I know, Gabe, you make a great point. There's like that start at the beginning of the season probably would have had a lot of managers out with how bad that historic start was. But yeah, there's like no, I feel like now as we're sitting here in July, there's still some fans that are like, this guy he's got to be gone. Like, but it's like, I don't think at this point there's any reason for him to be let go. You might as well let him finish the season at this point. But this is the conversation we're going to be having like in the off season for sure. But and we'll get to it when it comes to who the next manager will be for the White Sox. But I know I saw an article talking about how Skip Schumacher might be the next guy that the White Sox are looking at in this offseason. I think that's going to be a great conversation. That's just a little tease. We'll talk about that for sure at some other date. But the one thing I did want to hit though before we head out is the All-Star teams. They were released in this last week, and I do want to get your guys' both opinion on our respective All-Stars. Gabe, I want to get your thoughts on Garrett Crochet and what that means for him as the lone All-Star for the White Sox.
I'm proud of Garrett Crochet. It's not every day that the White Sox can say that they've had a talent that they've drafted turn from a homegrown product in the farm system to an all-star. And Garrett Crochet really wasn't even in the farm system. Like they bought him up right away. In the COVID year. He didn't even have a chance to hit the top 100 prospect list, but he was a guy that really thought from the moment he was drafted that he had what it took to become a starter. And Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams was like, no, we don't agree with that. We're going to use you as the flamethrower out of our bullpen. And you're going to be our middle inning relief guy. And Chris Getz gave him that opportunity. And he took it and ran with it. Even when they thought at certain times that they may have to send him to AAA Charlotte just to get some innings. He was like, no, I'm better than that. And I remember when he got the opening day nod against Detroit, there were a lot of fans that were like, how could you do that? How could you commit to him? And from that start on, minus a few hiccups, in like late April, he's been sharp, man. Like I was at his last start at home against the Colorado Rockies, and this man threw 21 first pitch strikes to like 25 batters that he faced. That's insane, man. And he's doing it with not only just velocity, but he's pinpointing it. And he has everything under control, man. So I couldn't be more happier for Garrett Crochet after all he's been through, from the Tommy John surgery to being willing to bet on himself enough to say, I'm a starting pitcher in this league. I know I am, even when nobody saw it coming, and double down on it, man. I'm very happy for Garrett Crochet to be able to receive that honor, man. Eric Fetty was just as deserving, but it's dope to see. And hopefully, he'll be here for the next several years. But if not, he's been a saving grace in what has been a tough season to get through for most fans on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you with Fetty. I think he would have been my other All-Star, and I think he honestly could have made it if there was, or he could still make it if there are injuries or guys that aren't playing. I think there's a strong chance because he's been one of the best pitchers in the AL, no doubt. But Mike, what do you think about your fellow Mike in Shota Imanaga making the All-Star team? Because you're right, without him, dude, I don't know where we'd be, and he's playing way better than we expected him to play. Like I remember going into the season, people were talking about at best he's like a 3, you know, and he's out there just being, you know, a guy that's gonna have, you know, ups and downs and all that and blah blah blah. No, this dude's pitching like an ace right now. So well, how do you feel about him being the lone Cubs All-Star this year?
My wallet feels great. I mean, 4 year, $53 million. I mean, it's definitely if I'm his agent, I'm kicking dirt right now. But I definitely think it's amazing to see Imanaga really just embrace the city. The Chelsea Dagger walk up song, the way he's went about it. The naked boys in the bleachers that he gave T-shirts to because it was April. Damn it, I don't know what these kids were doing, but they were topless and it was wild. But it's incredible to see him embrace the city, embrace the fans. Saying his name is Mike. I mean, he knew what strings to pull. He won me over. It's unfortunate that Justin Steele goes down on opening day in Texas, because I truly do believe Steele could have returned back-to-back All-Star games, 2.95 ERA right now, if I'm not mistaken. It is a Steele shove day. The man of Steele is going up against Baltimore, so I want to give him his flowers. Only 13 games. To your point you made earlier, I think there is a shooter's shot if there is injury that Steele may potentially make the All-Star game. If Paul Skeens can make, and Paul's my guy.
That's what
Paul's
I said.
my guy. I love Paul. He's a great guy. He's come on the pod before. I love him. He didn't have to do that. So I'm going to say that with grace and say, Paul, I'm mad that you made it over Justin Steele, but I still understand it. It's great for the game.
Yeah.
I think it's cool, but I love this for Imanaga, man. I think this is one of those conversations though where it makes you frustrated at the same time. Happy for Mike, of course, the Mikes, but I think I look at Jed Hoyer and I go, you just got a steal for a 4-year, $53 million deal. Now capitalize on it and let's get a better fucking guy next to him in the offensive side of things to be able to make sure that he's winning the games he starts. That's the biggest problem for me, is like, you have an ace, to your point, on one of the outside of Shohei Ohtani. I think you can arguably say that was the best free agency signing of the entire offseason for anybody. Especially when you talk about the contract. If you get into the financials, how could you argue it? You know what I mean? I mean, this guy had a sub-1 ERA for the majority of April and May. Get the fuck out of here. You're going to tell me it's somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. But, I think, and I don't know why the Zoom panned the gave when I said that. It had nothing to do with it. We know the Sox don't spend, so that was not a shot. But, I think, man, it's a blessing, really. I mean, at 30 years of age, you're a rookie. You finally get your opportunity. I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
and
no,
remember,
and
he was a fifth starter.
Yeah.
That's what they said. They say at best he was a 4th or 5th starter in a row.
Yeah. A big home run guy too. They said he was going to give up a lot of home runs.
Above that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fastball. It's his fastball is playing. It's that whether they worked with him or not in the offseason or they did whatever, but his fastball is just working in the big leagues right now, and it's what's helping him out. I mean, he was carving up the Orioles yesterday, so it's great to see, and hopefully it continues. But the last thing too, I want to get you guys' thoughts on the rosters, on the AL, NL rosters. Who you think is going to win the game, and then also who you think is going to win the home run derby? I mean, I know me and Mike, team AL, team NL. My bad. Team NL, but I will say we're Team NL. Come on, no way, Mike, you're not switching allegiances. You're not switching allegiances.
It's not switching. It's just understanding history's past, brother. We never win this shit ever.
We won that
shit. That was the first time in like 10 years we won that shit. I can't double down. I'm not a betting man like that.
All I'm saying is the NL better get a lead before the 7th inning and hold it, because they will not score after the 7th inning against Mason Miller and 100%. Class A and Clark Schmidt, all these dudes. Oof. Yeah, but still, I'm riding with the NL even if we take an L.
No, I'm riding with the NL. I'm riding with the NL.
But Gabe, what do you think about the rosters? And then also, what do you think about the home run derby? Is it you think anyone in particular is going to take it, or anybody you're excited to watch in it?
I never bet against Pete Alonso. It will be Gunnar Henderson take it. What's been a coming out party year for him. A guy that I'm pretty sure a lot of baseball heads know about, a ton about, and have been waiting for this moment to see him on a big stage. So I hope he does well. As far as the rosters, for the most part, I didn't have any issues with it. It's just unfortunate that Christian Walker didn't get an All-Star nod in the National Diamondbacks with the year that he's had. I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of team success they've had following the National League pennant run and get to the World Series a season ago. But he just doesn't. He's just always one of those unheralded guys. And every time he's in a big game, especially in Dodger Stadium, he always finds a way to hit home runs and have extra base hits when you need him to. I would have liked to have seen him at the Midsummer Classic for sure. On the American League side, I haven't really had a chance to really think about snubs, but as far as the game itself, of course, I'm gonna go with the American League. The league still means something to me. You know, I got into American League baseball because of the fact they had a designated hitter. I never liked my pitchers batting. So
that's because ours could. That's all I'm saying.
What'd you say?
I just said that's because ours could. You know, I mean, we had Jake Arrieta take mad bum deep. I mean,
Carlos Zambrano.
Sub hitter I remember from the pitcher's position was Carlos Zambrano.
Dude, Carlos Zambrano was a DH, bro.
When they played on 33, he was pitching. I'm like, well, at least he ain't batting.
For real.
Yeah, you could put him in the Homer Derby at that point. To be honest,
yeah, you could have.
The greatest Cubs game I ever went to, John Lester got a hit, and it's my greatest. It's right up there with Miguel Montero's grand slam against the Dodgers. I have neck and neck. It means something to me, man.
Dude, yeah, seeing John Lester hit.
Mark Burley hit a home run. I never forget.
Ooh, yeah.
Milwaukee
against Brewers.
That was a big deal. Dylan Cease was the last White Sox pitcher, I think, to hit a home run in Cincinnati before they converted it to the universal DH, and that was cool. But yeah, it wasn't too many moments. Like Matt Albers had a moment in New York where he hit like a double.
Saul remembers Travis Wood. Go crazy.
Hey, I was at NLDS. I believe it was NLDS game 3, right? It was game 3. No, or game 2. No, game 2. Where he hit that bomb. After Kyle Hendricks came out, I was like, dude, Travis Wood. Home run in the playoffs. That was crazy. He launched that thing too.
Shirtless Trav.
Shirtless Trav. Yeah. Oh man, what a legend. But yeah, no. And also breaking news. They just added someone else to the All-Star team. Willie Castro from the Twins. They added.
Yeah, Jose Altuve will not.
Yeah, over Altuve.
That's a well-deserved honor for Willie. I gotta give him credit. He done grinded for it. He's been an everyday player for the Twins. He plays multiple positions. Any place they need him to play, he can pretty much play it. He's had a great year in Minnesota, so he's well deserved.
And he hit. I mean, well, you can make an argument. Everybody does, but he's one of the best hitters against the White Sox this year. You know, as much as everybody does in that team, but everybody does. But look, hey, at least they got their win though. They got that first win of the season against the Twins yesterday. So they sad. But Mike, what about you, man? Yeah, I know. What about you? What do you think about the rosters? I know you were talking about Paul Skeens, and that's a good question, actually. I mean, Gabe, you can answer this as well. Like, people were talking about the fact that like it should be Skeens starting over Suarez from the Phillies. Yeah, and like, because Suarez has been probably the best starting pitcher in the NL, maybe even the majors. Overall, but I do agree with it's one of those things where like, you want to bring in people to watch. Paul Skeens is blockbuster. And to have blockbuster. Hey, I mean, this is true. It's a fact. So I think me personally, I'm started Skeens. I mean, the game doesn't really mean anything anymore. You don't have to you don't know home field advantage anymore.
Everyone's going one inning regardless.
Exactly. So like, why not start the kid? But get your opinion first, Mike. What did you think about the rosters? And then also the home run derby, man. Like, you got anybody in particular besides, Pete Alonso might win it, sure, but like, it's like, you got Bobby winning there too. Who knows?
I love Bobby. Listen, Bob and the Whalers, my fantasy team right now. We're currently sitting at 7-6. We're having a little bit of a, Yamamoto went down, a lot of stuff happened, but I'm rocking with Bob. I'm rocking with my guy Bobby boy. But I think in this one, I wanted to start with the more entertaining one to me, which is just the home run derby. All-Star game's kind of like whatever, because Cubs ain't going to the World Series, so the fuck do I care? But
it's our World Series, Mike. If we're not going to the World Series, the All-Star game's our World Series.
Oh man, sweeping Gabe both in North Side and South Side is my World Series.
We'll see. We'll see.
Halfway there. No, but Marcelo Zuna, as crazy as he is off the field, is somebody who I think's been even crazier on the field this year. He's somebody in the home run derby I'm definitely taking a look for. Pete, as much as I'll never bet against Pete. It's just one of those things where the polar bear has shown us time and time again he's great. Anybody other than Alec Bohm probably wins this, and I will stand 10 toes down on that. If he ends up winning it, you could play this back, Alec. I didn't know you were like that. I didn't know your game was like that. I apologize. But anybody other than Alec, I think Gunnar would be really dope to see him get some shots out there. But I also am not a fan of that in particular, just because of how important he is to that Orioles organization, to that Orioles lineup. We see time and time again what happens to guys after the home run derby for whatever reason that is. Their entire stride, everything they go about in preparation kind of just shits the bed more times than not in the second half of the season. So I don't like guys like Gunnar being in it the same way I never wanted Chris Bryant in the home run derby. It's just kind of like, nah, go do your thing. Like Kyle Schwarber, you want to go do it, it's perfectly fine because that's what you do. But if out of the ordinary, I don't think it's that great for you. Pete, obviously one of them. As far as the All-Star game goes, I like it. I like it. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I think, to the casual fan, you might think it's a lot of meat riding on the Philly side, because you're like, man, who is this Matt guy? Who is? But if you look at their ERAs and you look at what they've contributed this season, I mean, the Phillies are there not because they just, oh yeah, well, they're one of the best teams in the league, so we threw all their all-stars in. Like 2016, everybody thought, everybody was meat riding the Cubs because we had 7 all-stars. But, at the end of the day, guys were showing up and showing out. So I want to commend them because they have some first-time all-stars over there. That's really incredible too. So I think there's a lot of first-timers that are well-deserved who have been in this league. There's some who just got here and are really a staple for what this team is and what this league is supposed to be, like Paul Skeen. So I think it's a lot of and Mike Shota Imanaga. Truly apologize. How could I? But I think it's great, man. I'm excited. Maybe we get a Justin Steele appearance. I would have liked to say a Suzuki one, and you would have told me in April that he missed this All-Star game. I would have said you were crazy. And yeah, I think it's dope.
Yeah, and even like a Michael Bush, dude. I mean, this dude's got a OPS almost 850 now at this point, and like if he could have easily made the team. I know first base is stacked. I know that, but just like in general, like he's been having a great first half. But and this, with the, as you were talking about the home run derby, I was talking to one of my buddies and he was saying that it's kind of like the slam dunk contest now, where like the guys that should be doing it aren't doing it, and like it's just like and you kind of look at it because like Marcelo Zuna. I know what you're talking about. He does have a lot of pop in games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not personally a big fan of his load up for the home run derby though.
Sure.
He takes 3 hours to hit a home it's like he does that little dance and then he unleashes. You know what I mean? Does that little thing. But Bohm, you're right. Bohm, I saw a meme and talking about like the kids are gonna be scared of like because they're gonna be hit with line drives and and like Bobby Witt's one of the best players in baseball. But are you really like I really want to see him in the home run derby?
Right.
Realistically,
I don't like him doing it either. Just like Gunnar.
I get that. Yeah.
I ain't mad at these dudes though for wanting to do it because baseball. Basketball, like a lot of these dudes can walk on the street, and most folks in America don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So this is a chance for them to enhance their brand and profile, and it helps the team profile as well. Like I think about when Luis Robert Jr. was in it. There was some people in the city of Chicago that I talked to last year before home run derby. They did not know who he was.
No, that's valid, and I think it's real. But Gabe, can I get your opinion on this part?
Go ahead.
So if like I get the building your brand and I get it's great for the organization, but at the end of the day, if all you want to do is win a World Series and this potentially hinders that, you know what I mean? I think not to say that Bobby's fighting for that, but Gunnar.
Though, Mike, you can't have that mindset. I mean, think about Julio Rodriguez. The last 2 years, he's done it. He's gone on to have second half surgeries.
How's he doing right now? You know what I mean?
I mean, I get what you're saying, but still. I mean,
I get you though. I get you. I think it's just I think that's the only old man mentality that I do have when it comes to baseball. I'm kind of like you said, if this is the White Sox or even to the Royals, to be completely honest, if we're going to be real about their status of 2024, yeah, bro, you're not going to the World Series, bro. Go have some fun. You know what I mean? Like let's just have some fun. Now, if I'm Gunnar Henderson, I'm like, hey,
2014, man.
It's just
I don't. Baseball is a weird game. I never say a team won't win a World Series, even though I've never seen some teams win it. Like I never thought the Washington Nationals would win one, but they did.
That's fair. That's fair.
One of the most dominant teams in the history of the last 25 years.
Yeah, maybe Michael Walker figures it out and the Royals win the World Series.
I never say never, man.
You're right. My bad, Gabe.
Baseball is a weird game.
Dropping knowledge on me today, so you see this man going crazy on me.
It's a weird game. I mean, hell, the Texas Rangers just won the World Series last year.
But I kind of, you know what I mean, though. Like that, you paid for that one, brother. I ain't gonna lie, but
Hey, when it has a price, doesn't it, Mike?
it
Yeah.
does, and I don't know nothing about that because I'm a Chicago sports fan. So
Yeah, like people will say like, oh, they bought the world, like they bought a championship. Like,
they
bro,
did,
you think I care? Like,
yeah,
you
no,
think
but
my
and that
team got
wasn't
a
a shot.
championship? No,
Yeah,
no, I
that
know, I
wasn't a
know.
shot either.
No, I know,
Like,
but I know, but people were saying that for real. Like they were like,
yeah,
oh, like the Yankees all those years, like they bought their championship. Like, bro, do you think I care? My team won a championship.
that's
You know what I
fine.
mean?
If you,
Like, that's,
hey,
yeah.
I like this saying. So if you're broke, just say that. I'm like,
Yeah,
damn, you right. My bad, bro.
exactly. That's
I'll be like, I don't
yeah.
want to go to Top Golf, bro. Top Golf is lame. My boy be like, if you're broke, just say that. You know what? Maybe I will go to Top Golf this weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, the Top Golf smack. So it's like, but Gabe, as to what you were saying, like trust me, I totally get it because at the end of the day, I'm gonna be watching. Like I don't care who's doing the Homer Derby. Like at the end of the day, but I'm just speaking from like a perspective of like the casual, like the casual fan wants to see Aaron Judge, they want to see Shohei Ohtani, they want to see Bryce Harper, they want to see Trout in the Homer Derby, and they don't really do it all at the same time necessarily. I know Ohtani's done it recently. Obviously, Judge has done it in the past, but I don't think he'll ever do one again. But that's just the way they see it. It's kind of like with the Paul Skeens thing is like ultimately, like I feel like that'd be better for baseball. No offense to Suarez at all, because he's a great pitcher, but like it's from the matter of trying to like have other people watch the game that don't normally watch it. But
Right.
I do understand also the argument that doesn't that might not even do anything anyways. Like people also say like, hey, even if Paul Skeens doesn't, it's not going to boost ratings that much to where people baseball's going to be at a
though.
certain
You know what I
spot.
mean? Like, I
Yeah.
think we talked in a little NBA real quick. Like, the dunk
Mhm.
contest has been dead for years, and this is
Mhm.
exactly why you put Paul Skeens in the All-Star game. This is exactly why I'm sure behind closed doors they're begging Pete Alonso to come back and play in this game because it's like there was a small period of time where no one cared about the home run derby until the big dogs started coming back, and I think that's really what it comes down to. Like, NBA has the same issues, and we're not even going to talk about NFL Pro Bowls because no one let's not even do that.
NFL
Um,
what?
yeah, the skills competition, let's just call it that, and some flag football.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's great.
No, yeah, no, definitely. And I think either way, I think what we can all agree with though is that we'll be watching and enjoying it at the end, even no matter who's in it. That's just the best part. Either way, even if they got they got Carlos and Brown on the home run derby, I'm there. Which I
I'm
think
definitely there.
that would have been a spectacle.
I don't think it ever really got that bad for Major League
Yeah.
Baseball with the Derby though, because like
No,
in the All-Star weekend for the NBA, the dunk contest, like
the G leaguers, like that's like AAA guys being
right
in the
now,
home run
it's gotten
derby.
to that point, and you haven't had too many high-profile guys participate in it. You have mostly up-and-coming young stars. Jaylen Brown tried to change the tide a little bit this year doing it, but even that's not enough. And I think a lot of it is due to from the standpoint of guys don't want to mess up on national television. Like we become accustomed to being too cool with performing now.
Yeah,
So I'm just gonna perform for what you know me to perform for. If I
yeah,
25, 5-5, that's what I'm gonna do every night. But I'm not doing the dunk contest because I'm not trying to be the butt of everybody's jokes. I'm not trying to pop up on memes or whatever like that.
right.
So that's how it's changed. I
I
mean,
get it.
yeah, like Paul Skeens, I think he earned his All-Star spot.
Yep.
It's kind of cool to see somebody go from a number one overall draft pick to an All-Star in a 365-day span. I've never seen nothing like that in sports. He has a legit case to start. I think Chris Sale does as well. I think if you go with either one of those two, you're not really doing nothing wrong if you're on the National League side of things. And Torey Lavulo.
Even Reynaldo Lopez has a chance to start. Like
Gave
Yeah,
hype.
Reynaldo Lopez. Yeah, I thought about that. Two former Sox prospects.
Yeah, hate to see it. Hate to see it.
No, I'm happy.
Love to see it, but you know what I mean?
Always love, man. Like once a White Sox, always a White Sox. That's just like when Carlos Rodon got to the All-Star game with San Francisco. That was cool.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's how I felt about like Dylan and Eloy, having success on the South side. I'm like, oh, it's love, but then I look over at what I got and I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. Thanks. Caleb Killian. Wow.
Oh
Awesome.
man. Yeah, no, yeah. Whenever you look at that, it's like you'll go down a hole and never come back.
I'll
When you
never
look
come
at
back.
when you start look,
all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. and I'm texting Saul like,
you struggling that bad.
I'm gonna get
Cardinals fans go through.
oh, bro. I mean, you're looking at Aroldis
Yeah,
Garcia. I mean,
Garcia.
yeah.
Hey, but when you
Alton
got
Tolman.
when you got like 11 championships, Gabe, I don't feel too bad for you though.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, I understand.
That must be nice.
That rivalry runs deep. I understand.
I get real quiet when that comes up. I'm like, all right, well,
oh shit.
2016.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing we'll never take though is Brewers fans talking smack.
Oh, never in my life.
Like,
Never in my life.
I'm not even gonna. Yeah, I'm not even trying to cook Brewers fans. Like, I'm just like, hey, come on.
I just
guys.
like it's like when your little brother says something to you and you like, you don't want problems, bro. Like, get the fuck away.
Like, just stop. Like, we're not even trying to be bogus. Like, just stop, please.
Please. It's Tookie manager, dog.
Yeah. When they win the World Series, I'll tip my cap and be like, you know what?
When
there you go.
When they go to a World Series, bro.
Oh, fair,
yeah,
true.
Like,
true,
come on.
They've been to one.
Just to put in perspective how long it's been since the Brewers have went to a World Series. The last time the Milwaukee Brewers went to a World Series, not only were they in the American League, my father, who was in his early 60s, was in college. That's how long it's been. That's how long it's been. And they happened to play a team that is now their division rival for that World Series.
That's wild, bro.
Yeah.
That's
kind of crazy.
It's a good way to end it, Gabe. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. But yeah, I do want to thank you guys for joining me for this edition of the At Bat Podcast. We got 5 more episodes to 100. I'm thinking on the 100th episode, I'll bring out Obama or something like that. We'll see what happens.
I saw him last night.
Yeah, dapping him up at the USA game. So no, yeah. I want to thank Gabe, of course. Check out Gabe's podcast, The State of Gabe, available on Spotify, as well as follow Mike on his TikTok. You got Shy Kid Mike, who's got 60K, nothing, whatever. It's nothing for Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like next thing, he did that in like 2 hours.
I'm just happy to be here, brother. I'm just happy to be here.
Nah, but keep doing your thing, Mike. We definitely appreciate watching your videos, man. And like I said, you're always welcome to come on the show. Even next time we do one, bro, come on through.
Let me know.
You
know.
already know.
If Gabe keeps dropping gems like that, I'm in there like swimwear every single time.
oh yeah, you gotta plug your Give Us a Shot as well. Give Us a Shot Network. Check out all of Shy Kid Mike stuff on there, and as well as his Sky coverage and all that as well. So definitely appreciate all that. Check out all the other War Media podcasts like Slam Society. The Bears Den will be coming back real soon, as we will be talking about Hard Knocks and all that stuff. Caleb Williams and everything. Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, we'll be all over that, talking all that. And definitely check out as well as Sports Zone Chicago with our boy Sean Sierra, and as well as Second City Sports with Lakina and Sid. Check out all that, and we appreciate you guys watching another edition of the At Bat Podcast. Take it easy, everybody.